going on YouTube? Got the most updated version of REND Barbarian with Thorns and Berserk for the start of the new season. I gave it a test after all the nerfs and all the patches and everything that they released, and it still feels good. I had to pay a little bit more attention. I have some footage here running tier 55 Nightmare Dungeon. Still feels pretty good. Still feels strong. It does feel a little bit weaker than it did before, but it still feels really good, and there were still a lot of improvements I could have done to this build. It hasn't even hit 100 yet, and I've just been so busy with work that I probably won't be able to hit 100, but I wanted to make sure to get you guys the guide. So here's a little bit of footage it's been playing of just a T55 Nightmare Dungeon. I only really had time to run one and then test it out, see how it felt, and then make this guide. So hopefully it's helpful. And again, still feels good. I think this is going to be viable. There wasn't really anything that I used in this build that got nerfed super hard outside of like just the generic like less vulnerability and crit strike damage on weapons and stuff like that. But this build didn't take advantage of any exploits or anything, so it still feels pretty similar, but you do miss some of those percentages on your weapons and stuff like that. But I'm assuming, you know, with the new mechanic, they'll counteract some of that power loss with some of the new gems and stuff like that. So let's get right into the build. We'll go with the skill tree first, and then I'll be pretty quick. If you want like kind of a more in-depth reason as to why I choose some of these things, I go over it in some of the earlier build guides, but I'll try to be as specific as possible. So lunging strike, 1 point, and we go up to combat lunging strike. Berserking for 1.5 seconds on crit. We crit a lot. This gives us berserking a lot. We use lunging strike a lot. You're typically going to hit an enemy 2-3 times at least, depending on what you're doing. Bosses maybe more because some of the aspects may benefit from hitting them a few more times. And then you'll swing with your rend once, twice, maybe 3 times depending. But that first swing really after some lunging strike hits is the one that really does big damage. We come down to the core skills, and you have 3 into pressure points for a chance to make enemies vulnerable. And then rend, where you have 5 points, and then 4 on our gloves. That's very important for the flat damage. And bleeding damage in this case. And then we go into Furious Rend, and in the old build I use Violent for which this might, you know, be good now since we lost some vulnerability, but this really helps us keep our Fury up, which benefits more of our aspects and whatnot. So this one felt the best as of right now. Then we come down to defensive, and we take both Rallying Cry and Challenging Shout, and on both of those we move down to tactical and tactical. Over here we take Imposing Presence for the extra max life. Reason being, we use Outburst, which gives us Thorns, and you also gain Thorns based on bonus maximum life you have. So the more life you have, the better. You get some survivability and some Thorns. I have 3 points on my amulet. And then we take all 3 into Tough as Nails just for some more Thorns damage and some bleed on Thorns and all that kind of stuff. Thorns with Rend has been really nice for clear speed. It's not the most beneficial against bosses and stuff like that, but against big packs when multiple things hit you at once and you can impale them multiple times, you know, quickly with Thorns, it's really nice for clear speed, and it's really nice for killing like spiders and kind of all the pesky little common monsters that, you know, branch out from the group or whatever, and you have to go hit them with the core skill. So Thorns is really nice for that. And then down here in Brawling, of course, we take War Cry, 1 point, Enhanced, and Power Cry. Then we take 3 into Booming Voice, just to extend the duration of shouts. Swiftness, 3 points. Movement speed's very hard to come by, so this is and it's important. So we take 3 in Swiftness. 1 in Aggressive Resistance, mainly just to get us over to Prolific Fury for better Fury generation while Berserking, because we have Berserking up pretty much 100% of the time. Then in Weapon Mastery, we have 3 in No Mercy and then 1 in Pit Fighter, just to basically get us to No Mercy. Hamstring, we put 1, and this actually was buffed from 10% per point allocated to 20. So we basically take the 20 just to benefit from crowd control effects, but you know, obviously 20% is really nice. Even 10 was nice to slow enemies down. So, and then 3 into Cut to the Bone, more bleeding damage against vulnerable. Steel Grasp, 1 point, and then we go down to Fighter Steel Grasp, just an extra way to gain Berserking, so just a nice thing to have. And plus, it feels like Steel Grasp gains an additional charge. I very rarely need 3, so I just use this one. You might even be able to get away with moving this point into something else that would be more beneficial because we have Berserking most of the time. 90-95% of the time at least. Heavy-handed, 3 points, big crit. 1 in Tempered Fury, just to mainly to get us down to Invigorating Fury to generate a little health on Fury spent, and then Gushing Wounds, which then makes crit damage applied to your bleed with the and it has the same chance as your crit strike chance. So high crit strike chance, high crit strike damage, you do massive bleeds. All right, moving to the Paragon. This is fairly similar than it was in the last video. I guess it's changed a lot since the first one. But we, starting board, everyone has it, and then we have disembowel for the bleeding damage. I prefer the bleeding damage over the damage to bleeding enemies. This felt better to me, and also you get the cooldown by killing a bleeding enemy, so this really speeds up shout cooldown. And then in Blood Rage, we take Territorial, and this just gives us damage to close enemies and also 10% damage reduction against close enemies. So this is a really big node. This is one you want to take pretty quick. And then we take these 3 rare nodes for just damage to bleeding enemies and damage reduction. We come over to Decimator, and in Decimator we use Revenge, which is bonus to rare nodes, and this is going to be even more important now than I think it was previously, and some of these other vulnerability nodes, because this is how we're going to get a lot of that vulnerability damage. So we just take just enough to open the bonus, and then obviously it could be leveled to 21, so we could have got a little bit more out of it, but it's good damage reduction. And then we move up to Hemorrhage. I actually took all this first. I went through this pathing and then into this tree and then went up. And in this tree we have Exploit. Again, going to be very important just to get some vulnerable damage and also to make enemies vulnerable guaranteed on the first time you attack them. And then again, like I said, we cruise over. We're going to take these 2 rare nodes. We come over here, and this glyph is for Wrath, for that crit strike damage, and also for critically striking generates 3 fury. We crit a lot. We generate a lot of fury with this. And these are our berserking nodes. This is Carnage, and then we come down to this, just damage while berserking. Again, these are up most of the time, so this is good damage and damage reduction. And then again, like I said, we come up through here after that. We take Hemorrhage. This is a nice node for damage. And then, we got this one, which is a nice damage node. This is the only board that I felt necessary to basically take a lot of it, most of it. All the other ones I'm basically using for a couple nodes and glyph sockets. And we come up to here, which this board is Weapons Master. We definitely don't need to go up there. We have pretty good Fury generation. And then our glyph is Mortal Draw, which is damage after swapping weapons and a drastic critical strike chance increase after swapping weapons. So like I said, you're going to hit a few times with Lunging Strike and then swipe with Rend, and that Rend is going to be 84% stronger and have an 18% increased critical strike chance. Now we'll move on to gear. These aspects have changed a bit. On the helmet, you just, your main roles here are cooldown reduction, and I think that life on kill is important. Otherwise, you could have some other things here. Life is obviously good for our thorns and for survivability and armor, so this is a pretty good helmet. And then our aspect is chance to gain fortify when you deal direct damage while berserking. This one felt the best. It felt better over the other 2, damage or fortify gained for every point of fury at max fury, and then there's one more I believe, and this one felt the best to me simply because we have berserking up so much. Chest, this is a really nice chest, just had damage reduction, and then aspect, basic skills grant 20% damage reduction. We use our basic skill a lot, so this is up a lot. Gauntlets, you're looking for Rend, crit strike chance, attack speed. The all stats is nice because you might, you can remove it from one of your weapons or something like that. And then core skills are damage increase by basic skills. Again, we're often hitting 2 to 3 times, so this is pretty easy to max out. Don't have a max roll on this one because I was playing with a bunch of aspects, but this one feels the best here. Pants. Armor, berserking duration. I mean, that's probably the main one here for me as far as rolls. It's that one. That one was the one I felt I missed the most when I didn't have it. All the different forms of damage reduction and stuff and armor all felt fine, but the berserking duration was important. And then aspect wise, you gain 40% or 0.4% increased armor. This stacks really really fast. I think they nerfed this down to, I believe it used to be what, 25 to 50%. Now it's 15 to 30, but still that's nice, good damage reduction. So you're going to want that. It's still going to be a staple, I think, in a lot of builds. As far as gems, life, I do really like the life helps with the thorns, but I do really like the reduced crowd control. When you get frozen or whatever, you get 20% less damage taken. So those are nice too. But the life, which these are what I typically use, but on this particular build, having more life is beneficial for a multitude of reasons. Boots, berserking duration and movement speed. That's what you want. The other ones are, whatever you need. Fury cost reduction is nice. And then damaging an enemy with a core skill has a 40% chance to extend berserking. Again, this just helps us keep it up almost infinitely. Sometimes you'll kill a pack, and then this thing will, berserking will stay up for 5-6 seconds after you haven't even hit anything. So this is really nice. Weapon, we're basically, it's pretty standard, and I think it'll stay similar in the next league. You're going to be looking for vulnerable damage, crit strike damage, probably more so than ever. And then damage to close is good, core skill damage, and then stats and strength, and those are basically what you'll be looking for across the board, unless they miraculously release some new mods or something. But you'll be looking for basically those stats on all your weapons. And then as far as aspects, this is probably my favorite, and the one that I think is one of the most important is critical strikes core skills increase your attack speed by 50%. That's a lot. We put that on a two-handed weapon. Over here, again, same stats, vuln, crit, damage to close, strength. You gain thorns while berserking as an aspect, which is really nice. And then here again, same thing, crit, vuln stats. Thorn damage deal 36% chance to deal to all enemies around you, so this really helps with clear. And then each point of fury you generate while at maximum fury grants your next skill 4% up to 60. This stacks really really fast. We have good regen, so this is really really nice. As far as gems, I tried a bunch of different things. This felt the best, mostly crit strike damage to vulnerable with a little bit of damage over time. I tried doing it, with 4 purple and two green and all purple and all that kind of stuff. And this combination felt the best to me. And then going to our ring, these are going to be pretty standard. Crit strike chance, crit strike damage, vulnerable, and then we have fizz on this one, but lucky hit. Physical damage over time, life. There's a number of other things you could get, but crit strike chance, crit strike damage, vulnerable, definitely. And then aspect, you gain fury while berserking. You can also use the one while you gain fury while your shouts are active, but our berserking is up probably more than our shouts, so this is more beneficial. And I believe the roll goes higher. I think the shout one only goes to 4, this one goes to 6. But this one felt better to me. And then again, this is the same thing. Damage while berserking, crit strike chance, crit strike damage. And this one has lucky hit. I think I'd rather have vulnerable there, now, especially now. And then amulet. This is, mainly you're looking for movement speed and cooldown reduction. Outburst, if you'll get more power out of your thorns. And then obviously that 13.2% damage is really nice. And then we use skulls in there. These will probably change. Obviously, we don't know what the new gems are, but these probably will not be skulls. They'll I would assume they're the new gems, and we'll kind of go from there. So that's basically the build. You can kind of see here we've got 42% crit strike chance, just natural, and then 293 crit strike damage. Even after the nerfs, vulnerability, I'd like to get this up to about 250 would be ideal. Plus, but this, I think before the nerfs was up near 300, so they nerfed it pretty hard, but still feels fine. I'm assuming that the new gems will help us deal with some of this power loss. Expertise, two-handed sword, just a little bit of extra damage bleeding, and 30% times increased damage for 5 seconds after killing an enemy, so this is really nice for mapping. I think you could also use a really nice two-handed. This might actually be better in the new season because you get that crit strike chance and damage to vulnerable enemies. So this might, if you have a well-rolled axe, this might be better, especially late game. I would think that it is. Once you have enough damage elsewhere in your build, this might actually be better, and I'll end up testing this out hopefully a little bit more. So that's it, guys. If you have any questions, I'm around. Feel free to leave a comment or whatever. I try to do my best to get back to you guys as quickly as I can. But the build feels good. I think it'll absolutely be viable, and I'm assuming even more powerful. I think they're trying to kind of even some of the builds out, make the weaker ones stronger and the stronger ones weaker. It doesn't seem super affected by the nerfs, so yeah, enjoy, guys, and I think this one's going to be a lot of fun again this time around, and we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Like and subscribe.